Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to this episode of Let's Chat. I'm sorry, I did that all wrong. Welcome to Let's Chat Presents an Evening with Nikolai Blinow. We're so excited. Nikolai is a dear friend, past guest. She's been on our Let's Chat with Chris Rebel podcast a ton of times. 2 times I know for sure. One we'll talk about. That one's missing. We're really excited about this. So if you've been enjoying our Let's Chat Live, which we do every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. EST, or our Let's Chat Presents, we're taking all of the audio from all of the past episodes and future ones, and we're going to put them all on our page. You could, if you want to get all like our evening with Punk, our what did we do? Evening with Vanessa Lilly. We did a Marvel Cinematic Universe Roundtable. We've done a punk rock documentary filmmakers roundtable. All of Let's Chat Live. All that stuff's gonna be on Patreon. And the good news is this episode next week will go on our Let's Chat with Chris Rebel. Stay there for about 2 before it goes under the paywall. But the videos are always free, so make sure you check those out. So if you want to support us at patreon.com/letschatmedia, that'd be great. Find everything letschatpodcast.net. Nobody cares about me and what I'm talking about right now, so let's bring Nikolai on. Pew, 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 pew.
Hi.
Hey, friend. It's funny because for anyone listening or watching, we actually live in the same town, but I couldn't get my act together to figure out how to do a video recording together. So I was like, let's just do the old-fashioned way, because I don't know how to do that yet.
It's actually funny because my husband, whose name is also Chris, but Chris was like, oh, you're doing that thing with Chris tonight, right? And he's like, aren't you going to his house? And I was like, no, babe. He's like, oh, you're just going upstairs? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, that's awesome.
You don't have to do any work.
No better commute on a Wednesday evening than going.
I couldn't agree more. So, Nikolai, you've been on Let's Chat with Chris Rebel. Aired. I know we have a lost one somewhere. You're one of the people there before I tried to quit. Right before Felicity was born, I banked up 7 episodes and I lost all of them from a computer crash. And one of those is yours, but you were nice enough to come back. I'm sure we used to actually work together as well, and then they've just become like friends. And I always love our lunches and coffees, and feels like I know both of us pre-pandemic we're kind of started building towards these brands and bigger things. I don't know you, but the pandemic kind of sped that up for us. So for anyone who doesn't know, give us like a little quick history of up till now of like what's your background. I know if anyone doesn't know, you got to assume that no one knows what an LMHD is because we're so used to that field and like, oh yeah, that's not normal language.
Totally. So I am a licensed mental health counselor. But my sort of trajectory is before I was a licensed mental health counselor, which is a therapist, but like a head therapist, right? I grew up in a very interesting background. So my dad is an immigrant from Eastern Europe, came over here with like nothing. My grandfather was like a cab driver who also worked in a perfume factory. So yeah, it's very interesting. On like my dad's side of the family was always like cultivated this narrative of like the immigrant experience and like work really, really, really hard to just like have stability and success. But also because my father being from Eastern Europe, inherited a lot of unfortunate wartime trauma that resulted in like not well mental functioning. So I have this like narrative that was always fed to me. And then also because my father has trauma and is like mentally unwell, basically ended up living in a single parent household. So like, and living in the project. So crazy. The reason that's important is
with your mom or with your dad?
With my mom. My dad could no. With my mom. So like literally my mom worked and she didn't go to college. So my mom worked basically as like a secretary, just like 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. And then also as a CNA, which is a certified nursing assistant on the weekends. And then she also is a manager at McDonald's, like after hours on the late shift. Yeah. So like living in subsidized housing. So very much because of that, through like the narrative of like you work really hard to get ahead, coupled with like ending up in situational poverty and like single parent household. Like all I ever wanted in life was to have a job that like had benefits, right? Like get health insurance, a reliable paycheck. For the love of God, go to college so you can have those things. And then I like got my dream job and I hated it. I didn't hate it. That's so dramatic. But I realized I didn't like sitting at a desk all day because my first job, I went to school for public relations, actually, in marketing. And I worked at an Ivy League college. I did like alumni relations and fundraising, and I helped do like the marketing, planning, alumni stuff. But I hated being at a desk. Like hated it. So that was like my first foray into becoming a therapist. I was like, how can I have a job where I can actually make more of an impact? Because I actually really liked the institution that I worked for, but it didn't like light my fire to raise money for an Ivy League. I kind of felt like it's probably my experience growing up, like on one side having like an immigrant parent, and then on the other side of my experience having a single parent and like living in subsidized housing. I was like, they have enough money, no shade, but like, and having to go out and
Sure.
like, money for them all the time, it just like wasn't passionate for me. So I was like, how can I do something that I actually feel passionate about, where I can go to work every day and feel like I'm actually making an impact, but also not be stuck to a desk, right? Because the good thing about being a therapist is I can make my own schedule.
Yeah, I want to pause for a sec because I think you kind of, I feel like a lot of us have had this experience. Like you get the thing that you've always wanted, and then you're not fulfilled. Like there's this wonderful Jim Carrey quote, like after like post like The Mask or whatever, and he was making like 20 million a movie. It always stuck with me. It was he's like, it was like, I wish everyone can get have all the money in all the world to find out it doesn't find happiness. And like it hit me. Oh, so we have a little comment. Oh, someone saying hello.
Victoria, hey lady. It's so funny because I thought of you today and I was gonna text you and say we need to do a girls' night with Karish. So now that I'm seeing you here,
Now you're gonna have to.
Because I was like, now we can go in public again.
I know. No, but I mean, I think that's so interesting, especially like with your. Oh, which one's that?
Yeah, I know Victoria loves biscuits. So everyone say hi.
Oh, hi, Biscuit.
She likes to crash the party.
Oh, I'm Team Karma.
Karma's downstairs sleeping with Christopher.
Oh, but like, it's just that it's an age old story. Or I don't know if you listen to Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard.
I listen to it occasionally, but since I don't really commute, that's when more. And hi, Biscuit says hi.
Oh, hi, Biscuit. First dog on the show. Like, it's so interesting because like he talks to like really famous and wealthy people, and from my perspective, his like, you should have everything. Like I'm like, oh, we all suffer from I'll be happy win, and you hit your win, and that wasn't enough, and then you decided to then I know your path very well because we're friends. Mm-hmm. So then you do that, and then you go to you get your degree, you get your master's degree, yeah, and then you work somewhere else. That's not important, and then we work together.
And
then I remember shout out to our dear friend Laura Carr, who will probably never see this. I remember she's kind of the reason this whole thing even exists, which I always tell her. She hated you at first, so that meant you would be best friends.
I tell that story all the time. I actually, like in therapy, sometimes I do all kinds of things, but actually every now and then, one of the things I end up focusing on with people is how to like find your people, because it's becoming increasingly hard. Like social media and the internet makes it like easier and harder at the same time.
Oh my God, yes.
Right? Because like if you know people through the web, like you can find people, and I've had this experience, like some of my best friends are literally like all over the country and they're my favorite people. And I found them through mutual interest in social media. But like,
Yeah.
I still had to be like willing to put myself out there and put myself into the spaces where I knew like I could find my people. So long story short, it's like hard. It's also hard when you're like in adulthood because we're kind of forced into finding our friends earlier in life, basically through school, high school, college, around people all the time.
And not everyone goes to college, so like if you grow up in a town, you stay there, which is nothing wrong with that. Of course, those are your people. Mm-hmm. No, I'm totally with you. That's so true. I know it's so true. I feel like all the introverts had to deal with that this year. Where like us extroverts were like, all right, I can handle this. I'll find people online.
Totally, yeah. And I literally had to coach some clients on like, how do you find people online if you can't find them in person? And like, it's really a skill almost that you have to grow in your brain. It takes intention to find your people. But I tell my clients whenever we get into that topic, I tell them the Laura story because I know she hated me. I love that story. She thought I was so obnoxious and annoying. But we ended up being really good friends. And I think it speaks to just us as people being willing to like just go out there and also create opportunity for friendships to form and be open, right? Because like the more you're around a person, the more you put yourself out into the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
You might like people that originally you're like, not much.
No, yeah, and Laura we can say this because she would not have a problem with us saying this. She's aware that she hates people that she becomes friends with, so she was like, you got to give her credit. Like now looking back, I'm like, she knew not to believe the story that she made up in her head. She was like, I don't like Nikolai. All right, therefore I must really like her. Like like that's just so funny. Well, so anyway, so you leave your Ivy League job, become a therapist. Still not happy. Then what do you do?
Struggle's real. Oh my gosh, right? You're like, this will be the thing.
Because it pays no money.
Yeah, so I had this vision, which so I also now do like life and career coaching, and this will hopefully all make sense, right? I ended up in that position. I was like, 22, got my first big girl job, hated being at a desk, thought therapist, that will be the thing. Went to school for first I literally quit my Ivy League job straight up so I could go back to school full time and just like get schooling under my belt as quickly as possible, because like with schooling full time, it still took me 3 years. And a lot of the people I knew who were going part-time for school were taking like 5, 6, 7 years. And I was like, no way am I working full-time and doing school for like 7 years. So I did that. And then I also took out student loans to do that. And then I got like my therapist job. And oh my God, I made less money as a therapist with a master's degree and like way more training and way more student loans than I did basically as an entry level straight out of college, just administrative assistant at the Ivy League. So that was also a wake up call, that I put all this time and money and effort in and I was making less money.
Yeah.
And that control I thought I would have over my schedule, that's not how it is at the beginning. Like I thought therapists like you see on TV, you get to like hang out, your clients, you're like helping them. You got like the really comfy armchair, like Dax Shepard with his recliner and armchair.
Yeah.
Oh no, not my first office, my second office literally was basically a closet. It didn't even have windows. And I could barely fit like a laptop sized computer desk in it. And like that was my office. It was just like me in like a plastic chair, and then a client in a plastic chair across from me.
And then I know you left that job. Eventually, we worked together, but that stuff's not as interesting because I know you kind of started to raise the ranks where we are. But I remember when we were working together, your goal was always private practice, and then so we'll fast forward. You get to private practice. What I'm really more interested about is like, where did all this like coaching and running your passion for helping women and and I guess your friends too, because I'll take a sidetrack in a second to sing your good praises, but like about like you're very passionate about women earning their worth and making more money. But a side note, we were at the beach this weekend with creation with a family, and she was telling us about a like summer job she had got. Like, you talked to Nikolai, and she's like, "Yep." And then me, Victoria, and Karish have all had 3 scenarios where some sort of job related thing came into play, and all of us would have undervalued how much we would have set our price for, and then didn't, and then end up getting the thing we wanted. So I was like, damn. So can you tell us a little bit about like I'm hearing you talk about your childhood now, it all clicks, because I never heard you actually say any of that before. I was like, oh, now Nikolai makes sense.
Yeah, it's, I'm getting an update.
You grew up poor.
I grew up poor, but what's interesting? Like, I don't tell the whole story because nobody really cares. I actually was not poor because my dad, coming from that immigrant background, my grandparents worked really, really hard and actually like established like a really steady like upper middle class background. So it's really interesting. And I grew up in a very small town, so I'm like country poor. But it was so interesting because I literally like was known in my town as like the girl who lives in the big house with like all the cool toys. Like, we had a computer when no one had a computer. My dad drove a BMW. Like, he worked his way up to actually like, we had the biggest house. There was literally like a river flowing through our backyard. It was cool.
Yeah.
But then when my parents got divorced, and my dad, like, I'm pretty sure is narcissistic. So as people in the therapy world, we know like narcissistic people, unfortunately, don't have empathy unless when it serves them. So what ended up happening is like when my parents got divorced, my dad basically like took everything. And that's why my mom had to work so much and why we ended up living in subsidized housing and everything.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So now you're taking it back.
So it was like, yeah, I literally like at like a very young age, like fell, you know what I mean? Like, had this like big economic downfall where I was like, oh, you have like literally everything you ever wanted, and all your friends want to come over and play with like all the fancy electronics. Now you live in the grossest, like subsidized house with like cockroaches in it. And no one's ever around, right? Because like my mom was working all the time, so it's like,
you're a latchkey kid.
Myself. Yup. Mm-hmm.
So what is it about your journey to wanting to then turn that around to like help others to like claim their worth and stuff? Like, I heard this great saying recently about like it was hurt people, but healed people heal people. So I would imagine you've done the inner work, and I would say, like, I don't know if you would even say you're in recovery, but like we're both, most people in our field see therapists. Like, we've done the inner work to get to where we need to be. So I'm imagining I could safely say that you're healed. But like, what is it that turns it around is like, I just want to help others. And your group is huge, by the way.
It's pretty good. It's like 740.
Yeah.
Yeah, not too shabby. So where did it come from? I think it was just like, I realized, hard work is in my blood, like from my dad's side and my mom's side. All my narrative is like, hard work is in my blood. So like, because of that, I'm actually the kind of person that I actually enjoy and want to have meaningful work. Like, when I meet people and they're like, oh, I just want to be able to like not work, I can't wait to retire. I saw a Facebook prompt today, and it was like, what would you do when you retire? Or what do you want to do when you retire? And I was like, I want to do the same thing I do now, but like somewhere tropical. The only difference is like I want to be able to like move where I want to move, and maybe like not quite as many hours.
Yeah.
So it's like because of that, like I know I can't be like the only person in the world who's like, if I literally didn't work, I would have things to do, right? I have hobbies. I have fun. We have a boat. We go on the boat all the time. I have my dogs that you met, right? I have plenty of things to fill my time. But like, I also like to work and make a contribution and have something that like, when I do it, it's like I get to gold star myself, and I get to like see an impact. And I think that like many people, I almost just like got confused that there's just like a very rigid way to like make a living. And I just kept getting it wrong. It was like the first time I thought I just need like a secure, stable, responsible career and
Stability.
Money, right? Because it was like money, stability. That was where it was at because I never had that. And those are the messages I was fed. Like my mom was like, you better go to college. You better never rely on a man. You better make enough money to take care of yourself. Like these are messages I got. And then when I didn't like the corporate world, I had this like come to Jesus moment where I was like, well, I must not care about making money. I must care about making a difference. And then I ended up in the healthcare field and the helping profession where we have a lot of really great empathic and highly sensitive people like myself.
Bingo.
Right. And then I realized like, oh, there's like a dark underbelly here that when you're that kind of person who wants to make a difference, that it somehow translates into like self-sacrificing.
Yeah, we talk about this all the time, and like and that like that non-profit mindset that happens at places like that of like and I'm not referring to where I currently work, but like no 100% where it's like, well, if that oh god, I remember, well, this place doesn't exist anymore. I used to have a job where the director, the person, the high like 3 positions above me would always yell at us and say, you're not here for the money. And I was like in my 20s, about to get engaged. I'm like, I don't think I should have to feel guilty that I want to like own a home and have a child and go on a vacation and eat dinners. Oh, shout out Bree Bree. Hey, Bree Bree. Oh, not hello to Biscuit again.
Everyone loves Biscuit.
I know. I do love her. She's so cute.
And we'll get back to this, but my other dog.
I quote you to Bree, by the way, all the time.
Oh, yay. Hey.
Like, I was like, you just got to charge more people. Like, yeah, like, believe in yourself.
My other dog, Karma, comes to work with me at my therapy office. And it's so funny because I cannot tell you how many times I've met with a brand new client and I ask, why me? Why are you in my office right now? Was it something you saw on my website? And I can't tell you how many times people get really quiet and they go like this. It was your dog.
Ouch.
And I was like, it's okay. I actually get that answer all the time. And if I were picking a therapist, there's actually, spoiler alert, there's a dentist in Rhode Island who has therapy dogs. And you better believe I tried to hunt that dentist down because I heard rumors about it. So I will go to.
Can you tell me? Because I would like that.
It is called Dental Associates of Rhode Island in Johnson.
Oh, the ULDAR.
Yep. Dental Associates of Rhode Island.
All right, I'll find that.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
But
yeah, no.
Dogs.
Yeah.
Want to come see me because of dogs? I'm cool with it.
Oh, please! I've totally would have. I would probably see you as a therapist for your dog and probably stay there longer. Even worse. I would not quit being your client because of the dog.
I mean, when we terminate, like when I terminate with clients, Bree, thank you. I feel the same. That I know you.
I know you're both my two like my lady friends that like it always just turns into like branding and coaching and like all this like hyper niche stuff that you're like the only people I know in my life. Well, not anymore, but there's a few people I can talk about this stuff with, and it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Terminate with people. It's like
Victoria, get the hell.
And from, oh, that's funny. They're just going back and forth.
Oh my God. What are we gonna do here?
But what were we talking about? Oh, black or white perspectives and rigid perspectives on like what your job is supposed to look like.
And if you're gonna help people, you have to make no money. You have to work nights. You have to work weekends. You can't have nice things. Like, imagine if people like teachers and social. Imagine. All right, let me put it that. Imagine if a social worker started off making what like a police officer would make. And I can't tell many times I've had to go out with police officers to mental health calls and being like, A, you make more than me. I don't have a gun. I make like no money, and I have to put my safety at risk. And I'm not, but you know what I mean? Like more, and you know what? No, power to the police. Like I should have become a cop if I want to make more money, but like, you know, or any of that stuff. But like, imagine if more people made, if more money was made being a therapist, we'd have more therapists, we'd have more social workers. Because there's also like a level of like, I don't want to use like almost like a little bit of a level of privilege you have to some extent to even want to work in this field, to be like, hey, I'm already poor and I'm going to be poor forever, but I'm going to help. Or it's like our good friend Adam, who isn't, he'll actually, I know for a fact he'll never hear this. He was born into a very, very, very wealthy family. And he took that to turn around and just help people because he's like, well, I don't have to worry about money, which I think is, and it's so credible. If this video gets 100 likes, we can find out what the name is.
That's your nickname talking about.
Ouch. Ouch, Victoria. Oh, this one's going to make you really happy.
Good. Yes. You should always negotiate your salary. But you know what's crazy? And this is why I slowly have gotten more and more into coaching, is I just realized like I was coaching my coworkers all the time anyways. There's like drama happening in your comments.
Fight. I know. I love it.
We'll just have to stay here until you get
out. You bring out the best in people.
But yeah, like people would come to me even when I was like a little baby therapist. I remember there was a case manager who was getting promoted. Like she applied for a job as a therapist and she finally got her credentials. And they literally like offered her like a $500 raise. This is so.
Oh my God.
And I just thought that was bullshit, you know. And she came to me and was like, "Hey, this is what they're offering me." I said, "No fucking way. This is what you should get paid. This is what's competitive for the industry, and like, here's what you should do." And she went back to them, and she was like brandy new, like just graduated from college. And that's when we're most vulnerable, right? Because we're so desperate for like our first big job that we'll just like take whatever we can get.
I feel like I spent a lifetime of doing that.
It's a skill. You have to grow your self-worth, right? You have to change your mindset and believe that like you're not like taking money away from like other priorities. You have to like retrain your brain to stop overworking yourself. Oh yeah, right.
I see nothing wrong with that.
With men get paid more.
I know, except I want to be one of those men that makes more.
It's crazy. So
because I think everyone who's been commenting, I'm like, you all make more than me.
Well, good. That means they're doing a good job. My husband and I are on like a constant quest of like, I'm gonna make more than him, and I feel like I finally do.
You're gonna, you're gonna.
And I'm like, no, I want to be the sugar mama.
Do you want me to break his legs so you can have a leg up?
Work, yeah. There we go. And then I can like.
I mean, he would win in a fight. Who are we kidding? He's a soccer player.
That's exactly. But yeah, Bree, it's funny. So Women's Fund of Rhode Island just published statistics, and Ben and Jerry's actually for National Women's Day this year published statistics about Bree's the sugar mama, about like men. And it's so funny, like people think the pay gap still isn't real, but it's true. Like women still make what is it? Depending on the statistics, between like 67 and 76 cents on the dollar to a man. So like best case scenario, we still make 25% less. And there's
Do you know who this person commented is? I don't recognize them.
Who's that?
I want to make more money than Chris so I can legally call him my bitch.
Right?
That's just insulting.
But there's a satisfaction in it. I don't know. Maybe it's a strong.
She wants to call your husband a bitch. Is that what I hear?
No, she wants to call you a bitch.
No, that's not what I read.
CH Chris is you.
I know, that's the worst part. I was like, damn it, he's a KRISer.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But what made you like have that passion of like, and, you know, the other thing I know it's like you talk about like the money. We talk about this all the time together, like the money mindset, because you're very open online. You're like, this is how much I make. Mm-hmm. And like it is kind of weird. Like I sometimes I'll sit at work or anywhere and be like, I don't know who makes more or less than me for the same job I do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, isn't that weird?
Yeah, I
think we're not supposed to talk about money. Like, I have no idea what most of the people. I don't think I have any idea what anyone I work with makes.
Well, I mean, why do you think people don't want us talking about money?
Well, I mean, I know exactly why. It's because if someone,
it's like the corporate structure, which I know some women that I am connected to, like corporate structure was created by men, so it's very like patriarchal kind of structure, the traditional corporate mentality. And traditional corporate mentality is like, we don't want people talking about money, because if people know what people are getting paid, then we're gonna have to pay our people more, right? Because the historical system has been just like wring out as much labor from a person as you can get for as little money as possible to make as much profit for the business as possible. And I just think that's bullshit. It's like the empathic person in me. I'm like, no, I think that like a company can be successful and your employees can be successful and well compensated. But the reason I talk so openly about like what I make and about money is because I feel like when we don't talk about money, it's like we have internalized and absorbed the shame around talking about money and business that ends up just like holding us down. Because we're not out there talking about it. Easy for us to think like, well, I don't know what people are getting paid, so like I'll just settle, and then like the big giant corporate conglomerate wins.
Have you found people like, I think like when you start any sort of creative endeavor, like I would classify like what you're doing with all the stuff with your empathic group and like your coaching and stuff like that, kind of somewhat like, you know, you're making a path for creativity, entrepreneurship, whatever. It's all the same thing, right? But like, I don't know about you, but I find even from starting this, like, I'm not worried about strangers. It was always about like, I was always much more concerned about my friends and family first. Do you have any awkward experiences or like pushback from people you know being like, you shouldn't be out there talking about that, like that someone who actually means something to you?
I know that like many people, I had that fear when I first started putting myself there. But at the same time, like I've gotten that from my family my whole life. Like when I quit my job to become a therapist, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I was also toying with the idea of becoming a teacher and teaching English so I could travel. Because at the time I was in my 20s and doing the whole like teaching English in foreign countries and moving around. And someone in my family said, are you sure you would be good at that? You would be like a really bad teacher, like to my face, and said it was a bad idea. And I honestly don't think therapy and especially coaching is like not that different from teaching. I just am teaching more and like a more intimate, small.
You're happy.
One second. So I think maybe just having that and growing that muscle, it's easier for me to just be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do what I want. I mean, not that I didn't have that fear, but I'm so used to getting criticism that I have a bit of a thicker skin.
Like, did you and like, you know, I always say this too, like, and you seem to find a way of talking about this stuff but without and like being too braggadocious about it. Like you're because that's I mean, it could be super easy to be like, well, F you, this is super uncomfortable, but you know, I don't know, and maybe, and you know, I hate I know it's probably more my own issues, but I hate those stories of like, I left my 6-figure job to pursue my passions because I'm like, no, you made 6 figures, good on you. But like, I literally sat next to you every day and got to see your journey and to you actually making 6 figures. So it's a little bit cooler to be like having like a side seat to it. Like, no, that's Nikolai. I know Nikolai. You're not just some hot Instagrammer who's telling me how I quit my job and travel the world on my parents' dime without telling me about my parents' dime.
Yeah, I try really hard. I'm only human. So, like, I've pissed people off. I've had people not be happy with me. But I do really try at the end of the day to just be like as authentic as possible. And also like really own my shit. So if I misspeak and I say something people don't like, if it's like fair, then I own that. But I also try not to internalize things because a lot of times when people are mad, like for me, I speak from my own experience. I grew up thinking rich people were assholes because I had a narcissistic parent who took all the money and left me living in subsidized housing. So,
Sure.
my brain equated like money and being successful makes you a person who's willing to step people. And I had to unlearn that, and it's been really interesting as I've grown as a therapist and a coach and surrounded myself with like more and more people. Like I meet people. I met a therapist who's pretty cool. She got booked to do like a 3-day event, $70,000 for 3 days. I don't know what kind of event it was. Some like big corporate.
Can I do that?
Right? 3 days. And it's just been really cool for me to see people like that who I'm like, you're an amazing person. She's like a Bernie bro. She has a son. She's like raising him as like a little like, inclusionist. Like we love everybody, pro women, pro people of color, pro LGBTQ, right? She's awesome. And then I see her like go make $70,000 in 3 days. And I think like, those are the people like, yes, please go make $70,000 in 3 days.
Right? Yeah, I remember Margie from Interview Connections told me, and that was what who's also been a wonderful, helpful and coach for me. I remember her saying, she's like, if we don't take the money, then the bad people. I was like, oh my God, you're right. Because I remember Bree and I, Bree, for those who don't know, is my producing partner and my producing and business partner. And like we were talking early on, like money mindset stuff. I'm like, we should like make a lot of money with Let's Chat Media, and then we could take that money and do good things with it. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, yeah, because people like Jeff Bezos don't ever even have that thought. They just take all the money and screw all of you. So I was like, we need people like us to make like a lot of it and then like do good stuff with it. Like support local restaurants mostly.
Right? Or like for me, like I donate to charity for real now. Like a real adult. I have like 3 different charities that I donate to every month. I'm gonna be probably adding another one.
You eat local.
I eat local.
Well, I'm not even kidding. That's super important. Like you actually need a little bit extra cash to really support small businesses. Like, when you're struggling, you really can't, like, you just, like, I could never afford Craftland before the last few years. Like, it was like, no, I can't go here.
Or
I just
like,
can't.
I'm a girl, so I sometimes like to do girly things, and I get facials now that I'm, like, middle-aged. This is, like, a middle-aged thing.
Are we middle-aged?
We're getting there.
Well, how long do you plan on living?
Well, hopefully longer. I don't know.
Yeah, because I was like, if I'm going to make it till 60.
But, well, I'm 37, so I'm officially really close to middle-aged.
Yeah.
But long story short, I get facials. I found a girl originally through Groupon. And like many people in service industries were really struggling last year through COVID because everything either shut down and then had these crazy restrictions and people were afraid to use their businesses. So long story short, she literally pulled me aside and was like, hey, you can just keep paying the Groupon price, right? Like, I just want you to be able to keep you as a customer so you can keep paying the Groupon price. And what was really cool was like when last year I realized like, oh my God, I'm actually like gonna start making six figures. And then I was like, oh my God, that means I have more money. I was able to like go to my appointment with her and say like, I'm paying your full price. And she literally was like, no, seriously, don't do that. And I was like, no, her Groupon price was like $30 cheaper than her regular price. And I just thought, if she's making $30 less an hour and she's doing that for so many people, like what does that look like for her? And like that's what happens when like good empathic people have money, is like we can do those things and unprompted, right? It's like I don't want anything from her. I just want to like pay her what she actually wants to get paid during a pandemic, not make her take a pay cut. I can't do that for everyone else, right? But like
that must. What did it feel like, honestly? Like, I guess I feel like if I ever get to a point where I make six, like, well, you know how it was. You were where I am a couple of years ago. Like, I think like, man, if I made six figures, I will be all set. But as we all know, you get whatever number you think you are, and it's never what you think. Well, but it's pretty cool, right? It's better than what is it? You're not driving around in a Rolls Royce and sipping caviar or champagne 24/7.
My car, I bought a new car last year. My new car is a used car. It cost $16,000. I feel like that's a regular car price.
That's how much mine was.
Right? It's like I don't have a fancy.
Yeah, I've been to your house too. People will be surprised that you also not only like do you and Christopher like have good income, but you also like live within your means. Like you have a very nice. It's a nice house, but it's not big. It's fine. I love your house, but it's not we live in the same town. You're not in East Greenwich. You're not in like Westerly. It's like I love your home, but it's like you're not in that snooty gated community. You drive normal cars.
Yeah, I'm like a minimalist with how I like actually live.
You're more of a like experiential spender.
Yeah, I just like having money allows you to like go out. Like you said, go out more, support local businesses, go do fun things. I can like pay what's worth. But honestly, I think the biggest difference is because I know this was it for me. Before, when I was making, like what many people just in like the regular middle class, I work for a company. Well, like most people are making, I think like we feel like we're doing okay if we're making between like 50 and 70, then we're like, that's like good, that's livable, right? And for me, it was livable, but if I'm honest, like I would not put money into like a 401k.
Yeah, those numbers are so outdated too, because like things cost so much more than they used to. Like 50 grand when like our parents had us would have been a little better, but 50 grand now, it's like.
You can like pay and maybe like go out to eat like once a month, but like I literally had no money to put in my retirement. And then heaven forbid if like some emergency thing happened, like my car broke down or my dog got sick and I had like this unexpected bill, I didn't have money to just be like, oh, I can pay that.
Yeah, that's like those lack of financial stresses sounds so nice. So can tell me more now. Were we already friends when you did the TED Talk?
Were we? 2017 I did it, so probably, yes.
When did you start the job we worked together at HP?
Well, I did it in 2017, and I've been in private practice for 5 years. So it was while I was in private practice, which means I had already left the job that we were at.
Yeah, because I remember we did the podcast, probably one that didn't air, and I remember like talking to you about it quite a lot because I was so impressed. But like, was that your first move where you're like, I'm gonna do something that's just a little bit different? Like I was talking about this with my therapist too. Like, I've been doing the podcast was for about 6 years. It was just a hobby. In the last year, it's turned into like a hopeful career. And like I hate those words, but like I bet on myself or whatever, all those types of things. But like. So I was doing Let's Chat, and I would love to do this professionally. I want to work in the industry. I'm very, the more you talk about it, it's been more you put it out there, it does make a difference. And it's led to this incredible opportunity for Bree and our buddy Dwight. We're going to be producing a podcast for Selwyn Jones, who's the uncle of George Floyd. I never set out to produce a podcast for someone who lost a family member and such a public figure. I do think when you make the narrative of your life, the TED Talk was the moment you're like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what it's going to lead to directly, but that was kind of the moment where you're like, just going to do this because I want to. And then it kind of led to where you are now. I always I always feel like you're going to be someone who's going to be a speaker, lecturer, CNN contributor. Well, that's what I always want you to do. Mm-hmm. But do you think that, when you look back at your life, do you think that was one of those moments where you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing. It wasn't paid. It was just you wanted to do it.
Yeah, I think it was just, for me, this pull to just out there more. Because one thing I realized about being a therapist is I did get to help people and I do get to make my own schedule, right? But I didn't anticipate this, that sometimes it would just kind of piss me off that people would come to me and I would give them strategy or skills or now coaching, whatever it is. And then they would feel so much better and their lives would change. And I just was like, why is the world set up that people have to feel so shitty before they have to feel better? And so I just think the TED Talk was me just sort of my way of being I need to be willing to just be out in the world more and be willing to go find people instead of waiting for people to be so miserable that they're seeking me out on Google late at night.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I know it's funny. I love the niche you found too. What is your Facebook group called again?
Oh my God, I've changed it so many times. So my Facebook group is Burnout to Business Boss, and it's mindful money making for women. But I specialize in working with empathic and highly sensitive women in business, because I feel like we are especially susceptible to overworking and under-earning and totally burning ourselves out without receiving what we need to be really awesome versions of ourselves.
Hey, we got our first troll.
Oh, really? What'd they say?
I don't want to even give them any screen time because F you, but they said some horrible things. And it kind of, we've been doing this for a long time. I haven't had many trolls, so thank you. I'm really glad, too, they could find her wait a minute, let's chat. You're talking to one of those women who's doing something. I can't take it.
Is it that?
Can you see the comments?
I can't see I saw when they were popping up. I can't see the comments.
I won't say their name, but they said incel lives matter, which that makes sense. And hashtag I can't breed. Oh, that's kind of clever. Well, I got to give them points on the pun.
What do you say? I can't breed?
I can't breed, BREED.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is pretty clever.
Right?
Yeah, well, I don't know who you are, and you're probably a robot, but thanks. Here we were thinking misogyny was dead, but phew, we did it, everyone.
It's not dead. Yeah, it's I had to deal with that this weekend. I had someone who's a friend of a friend who we're just different people, but it was I trigger him clearly. That's all I'll say. So it was a fun weekend of triggering him because I'm clearly a strong personality and not all people like that.
Yeah, and you're kind of a tough therapist too. Not in a bad way.
Oh yeah, I'm not easy.
You're I don't know how to say it without sounding rude, but you're a lot I don't know.
I don't care.
You're very skilled and you're a great therapist. You challenge people. Your personal life personality is much warmer and calmer than your therapy personality. When you're in therapy mode, you're a warrior.
Yeah,
it's one of the cool things about my positions over the years is I've gotten to sit on several therapy sessions and see all these different people's styles and stuff. And it's funny because you're just, Nikolai, You're just there, then all of a sudden, just like warrior mode comes out.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm thinking about the client we had who said they feel like they were a baby bird and I kicked them out of the nest.
Oh, I haven't thought about that person in so long. And I continued to work with them after you left, and they ended up having a really great recovery, and they found love. And yeah, one of the things I love about the field I've been now too, is I get to work with people when they're on the upswing of recovery, and like I'm a true believer. Like, it doesn't matter how you fall, you can always get back up, and there's something special about that. But it's just I have this one memory being in a therapy session with you, and like someone I'll say afterwards, but like I don't know, they were like it was a man, and they were like tearing up and all this stuff, and you were just stonewall the whole time. And then they're like, well, what do you think? Like, you just like, you're very much a mirror to people, which I think is funny. So I think that's funny too, that when you're out and you're having your normal personal life, that people pick up on that therapy side from you, even when you're not even intentionally doing it. I remember one night at Ogie's, we had someone like that. You got in an argument with some guy because of that, and in my head, I'm like, yeah, they are clearly projecting some issues they have with their mother or an ex, or like clearly the issue was not with you, but it was just like the internalized misogyny or whatever it was. But it's just so funny because Victoria feels the same way. If you're just like, I've been with you when it happens, and I almost see you get a little bit excited because you're like, oh yeah, it's go time. And I think that's one that Christopher and I love that too. We're like, yeah, fight. Except I'm so much sure I just meow at you and Victoria when this happens. I go, meow, because start cat calling you. That's appropriate.
Yeah, it's funny because like I think, I don't know, my own life experience, and plus like before as a therapist, I was a yoga teacher, so like sometimes people think they're gonna come to me, I'm gonna be all like sunshines and rainbows,
especially with a dog.
And I think it's like I just like try to just like be intentional and mindful in everything I do, including with my clients. So like I feel like when people are in pain, right? Like it's not my job to take away your pain. And actually sometimes that's not what you need. But it's like human nature when you see people suffering, you'd be like, oh, here's a tissue, And I'm not going to tell my clients to like buck up and get over it, but like I'm just really comfortable sitting in suffering because like life involves that sometimes, and I think we need to allow ourselves that space to learn from it. But yeah, also I think that's what eventually led me to coaching, is realizing like it's weird, that's not what a lot of people associate therapy with. People think like therapy is like you come hang out with like a friend that you pay, and it's like, we help you get better, but it's like lots of like warm fuzziness.
Yeah. And that's definitely there too. Don't get me wrong. I've seen that side of you there in therapy. Like but the tough side is the part I'm always like, this is why certain people like that. I don't want to say drill and strike. It's not. I don't think people would expect it from you.
No, I call it like compassionately calling people out, because whatever I do call people out, it's because like I see something that maybe they don't see, and I feel like my job is to help people like get to where they want to be, right? So if I see them getting in their own way, then like it's my job to say like, you're doing that. And I tell people, and I literally will say like, I'm telling you because I care about you and I want you to have whatever you want, right? But like this is what.
Yeah.
And so more and more, it's like all deal. I don't get clients who want like just like, I just want to come here and like vent or like do some personal development work or whatever. I get people who are like, I want you to like tell me where I'm like messing up my own life. I want you to tell me where I'm getting in my own way. Like I like want a therapist or a coach who's gonna be that mirror,
So what would you say the biggest difference from therapy and coaching is? Like, as someone who doesn't want a therapist, but like they wanted to like reach out to hire you or someone like you for a coach, where do they do that, and what does a coach do different from a therapist?
Well, if you think of like historically, like historically therapy, it's not this anymore, but it's like, you know, going and lying on the couch and like talking about yourself and your problems. As in therapy, right, we still might give you like insight and say like, hey, you're doing this, hey, you're doing that, here's a new perspective. You know, cognitive behavioral therapy, it's all about like reframing your thinking. But it's like a little bit more like we're sitting and listening and occasionally like inserting things that we think are going to help you. Because in therapy, I think the main goal of therapy is like to hold space and also to heal. But also in therapy, you come to therapy and basically, depending on the setting, you like need to have a insurance to pay for you. So it's always going to be focused on like, even if we're not always saying like, hey, you have anxiety, hey, you have depression, there's always that like subtext that's informing therapy, right? Like you're Chris, the depressed person, or Chris, the anxious person, even if we're not always talking about it. Coaching is, if you think about like how a coach operates in athletics or something, they're a person who literally their job is to like observe you and give you like clear instruction and show you like the game plan and say like, here's where we want to be, here's what's going to get us there. So I think coaching is just naturally more directive. Like it works well for people who want that accountability piece. Coaching, people like want to be told what they're doing wrong. Therapy, it's actually considered taboo to give advice. It's not that we never give it, but it's like some therapists will never give you advice. And then
or we do the thing where we frame it in a certain way so you think of it.
It's very like gentle coaching,
like motivational interviewing. Yeah,
of Bill Belichick, you know what I mean? We're from New England. It's just like I'm not the coach who yells at you, right? But it's like a lot more like, let's just cut out the bullshit, and like you just want direction, I will give you direction. You want guidance, I'll give you guidance. Versus therapy is like, we might still give you guidance and direction, but it might be more like a leisurely long stroll. And coaching,
I love that. Yeah, so like if someone wanted to work with you on coaching, how would someone get in contact? Like, do they have to be local, or do you do virtual? Like, how does that work?
The good thing about coaching is you can do coaching from anywhere, because I'm not doing therapy, because I'm not going to like diagnose you. I'm not going to do like clinical work. There's a little bit of a difference in therapy. Like with my therapy clients, the first 3 appointments are like me assessing them and then me diagnosing them with something, right? Like, oh, you have anxiety. Oh, you have depression. Oh, I think you have trauma. I think you have bipolar 2 or whatever, right? You might just have an adjustment disorder. With coaching, because we're not doing like that depth of clinical work, it's more just people wanting like the skills that I have and the experience. Yeah, people can work for me from wherever. And that's what I think is really cool, because I think honestly that's how it should be. Like we should be able to work with who we want to work with if we think they're going to help us.
Yeah, and no insurance. Yeah.
And it also means like it's really truly like you don't have other people in this. Directing like how things are supposed to go, because I think most people don't realize that like that actually does happen, you know, like your insurance sometimes might reach out and be like, hey Nikolai, why are you still seeing Chris? And then it's like, is Chris really in charge then?
Yeah,
and not all insurances do that, and they don't do it for every client, but it's just like, I don't know, I feel like
happens. They're just trying to save the bottom line.
You know?
Well, it's awesome. Even like I know Karish and Victoria and I all just by osmosis of just being your friend, your coaching has rubbed off. Probably me a little more specifically. I know we've done a lot together of helping each other out. You've definitely been very vital in helping the Let's Chat brand and like kind of figuring out. I'd be like, I gotta sit down and talk to someone. And I know we've both been very helpful. So it's definitely, I recommend it for anyone out there if that's something you're thinking about. Nikolai is a good person, but people could find you on the, oh look, we put your website right there. Go us.
so you go to that's my website, OMpowermentPsych.com. There's a big button on the first landing page that says career coaching that takes you to like my coaching specific page and talks about like what specifically coaching looks like, because I actually have a couple different ways I coach. I do like individual coaching, but then I also have like a coaching group and a coaching program that is actually pretty cool. So
you are busy and international, which I know, which I think is so cool. And and the really great thing too for our Let's Chat Club members, which if anyone's interested in joining us, just check everything out at letschatpodcast.net, or you can hit us up. But next week, we're kind enough to come talk to our group privately, and we're going to do a whole roundtable around burnout. Something I have experienced firsthand, to the point I had to be removed from my job for a few weeks last year, and it was terrible. But so we're really excited about that. I'm so happy that for someone that Laura hated, turned out to become such a good friend for all of us, and to the point where like you're one of the few people that I'm friends with in this world, but then also in my like real life world, because there's only a few people who live around here who I do any of this stuff with, or that you don't mean to, but there's always like just you have separate herds of friends for separate things. So it's pretty cool that we've all been able to kind of merge into these things. It's funny, because you, me, and Aaron were the three people working at where we worked. Who I remember you two were always like going to go off and do something else, and then and he did. So Aaron Alexander, shout out to our favorite virtual assistant, World Traveler, who I hate because she's always elsewhere. No, we love Aaron. Oh my God. So where can people find you online besides are you a social media person? I know you're really active on your Instagram.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm super casual. People can find me. My Instagram is my name, but it's Nikolai Diana. So you can just go to @NikolaiDiana. That's me. That's like my real Insta. I have a business one. I use it too, but I actually tell people go find my personal one. As long as you're not a creepy jerk weirdo, then like just find me on Instagram. Or on Facebook, same thing. You can find my real Facebook. And yeah, if it's like a lady who needs coaching, business coaching, she can go to my group, which is you can just go to bit.ly.com/burnout2businessboss, but the number 2 all lowercase, and that will take you to my group. Or you can find
I'm hoping
there's a million.
Hoping to see you on. Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
there's a leg.
I know. Stop it.
There's a lag. Probably, yeah, our internet's cut out. But I'm hoping to, it's, people keep your eye out. You're going to be making more public appearances. I feel like you're going to be getting pulled into our podcast world sooner than later as a guest or something like that. So excellent. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. If you're listening to this, for anyone who's listening to real time or on our feed, know that you could support us on patreon.com/letschatmedia, where you'll be able to get this episode in audio form, our past Let's Chat live episodes, our past Let's Chat present. Interested in joining our Let's Chat Club, let us know. And we'll be back here on next Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. EST with somebody, because I don't have the calendar in front of me. Have a good night.
Thank you.